Morning.
Good morning.
I know it's Monday. We got to get some energy going here. Governor is here. I welcome all of you and really appreciate you taking the time today on a Monday morning. It's an honor and true pleasure to welcome our Governor Snyder, a great supporter and champion who attracts highly skilled immigrants to this country and to our great state. With his vision and leadership, now Michigan is only one of 2 states to run the EB-5 Regional Center to attract foreign investors to live, work, create jobs in our great state of Michigan. And I think that's a great accomplishment for all of our immigrant community here. And I thank the governor for providing the opportunity to join him and Mayor Duncan as he unveiled his proposal in Detroit earlier this year. This will help to attract the top talent and international direct investment, accelerating Michigan's comeback. What an action from the Michigan's true comeback kid, Governor Snyder. No one understands the value of highly skilled immigrants than Governor Snyder, who had first-hand knowledge working with PhDs, masters in creating high-tech jobs and more companies in Michigan. Governor, we impress upon you to fast-track more initiatives like this. Also, the Office for New Americans, retention of international students to attract, retain talent, and create more jobs in the future. As I welcome the governor, I walk down the memory lane. It is again the same backdrop. 4 years ago, we had the privilege to welcome the then Republican candidate, Rick Snyder. And I still vividly remember some of his remarks just before the elections. He said, "Hey, when I came to this tie and this group of people, I was only running in the polls probably 1 or 2%. And with the margin of error plus or minus 2%, theoretically I could have been negative in the numbers." Obviously, Rick eventually went on to become the Republican candidate, and then also went on to become the governor, bucking the Republican establishment and beating all odds to become the governor of our state. And that is really a true hallmark of an entrepreneur. As I transition to the president of TIE Detroit in the coming months, I would welcome opportunities to work with Governor Snyder and his administration to synergize all entrepreneurial resources in our state and create Detroit almost like an entrepreneurial hotbed, much like the Boston and Silicon Valley. And I think our place can do much better than what we have today. And TIE, the world's largest entrepreneurial organization with this global footprint, can play a critical role in helping Governor's mission in promoting entrepreneurship. And I think as we leverage the key drivers of economic growth, the high school immigration and entrepreneurship would really help this great state and also help Governor's goals. As I conclude, I just want to make a few comments about our governor. Governor started reading Fortune magazine when he was only 8 years old. I don't know if I even knew ABC at the time. By 23, he was done with 3 degrees: accounting, business, and also law. Indeed, you are a tough note governor. The one thing that impresses me most about the Governor Snyder is his humble beginnings, that he was born and raised in a very small home with his parents running a very small business. And it is not where you start that matters, what you do and where you end that matters. I always take that as you as a role model in all the entrepreneurial journeys that I take, and it is really your humble beginning that really impresses me most. Michigan needs Governor Snyder to do it again for 4 more years, so we need all your support, and please help spread the word. And now I'd like Rupesh to formally introduce the governor, and thank you very much for coming today.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thanks, Ted. Looks like, when you come first and talk about everything, I have nothing to talk now. But Governor, thanks a lot, for being here. As Tal mentioned, 4 years back, we were here welcoming you. And we have seen what these 4 years have been to Michigan. I can probably have been given pages to talk. Some of it he has already talked, but I would rather have you probably, let us know a lot of those. But we all have seen every aspect of our life, has improved in the last 4 years. And we hope to have next 4 years, unless we have momentum going. So we have to have this continuation for next 4 years. So we have to support Governor. I would like to thank you all for coming here today morning and supporting Governor. With that, I would like to welcome Governor here, and I hope, with all good wishes that Governor continues for next 4 years, which our Michigan needs. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you for those great introductions. It's a great warm-up. Monday morning, you got people fired up a little bit. That's excellent. Thank you. And Rupesh, we need to give him a shout out for being Entrepreneur of the Year by Times Now. So it's always great, and I do recall being here 4 years ago, and I was in the margin of error. And so I really appreciate the folks that supported me back then. Literally, I called people that were those early supporters the Margin of Error Club in recognition of that. And we had many great events. The Thai organization was really important. I remember we had another event on a Friday night right here in the town center.
Yes.
And it holds the record for the longest Q&A period I've ever done in my life, which I think was about 2.5 hours of Q&A, but it was a lot of fun. You had a bunch of entrepreneurs talking about how to reinvent a state. And if you stop and look at it, think about how far we've come, because I think that is relevant. We were a broken state back in 2009 and 10 in many respects. We had the highest unemployment in the country. We had people leaving our state. Our young people weren't staying. And now we've created an environment for success. And that's really important. We've created over 250,000 private sector jobs in the last 3 years. Good, well-paying jobs. We ranked number 4 in the country for well-paying jobs, number 3 in high-tech jobs, number 1 in manufacturing jobs. And our personal income's coming back strong. We were ranked 9th last year for personal income growth. That's our best ranking in the last 20 years. So a lot of great things are going on in that regard. Actually, there's a couple cool reports just out today, and hopefully you'll have a chance to see them. In terms of entrepreneurship and the climate for entrepreneurship in our state, we ranked 6th in the country and number 1 in the Midwest in the last couple of years. So that's a huge improvement. And then venture capital, we're still not top 10, but we're getting close. We've moved up dramatically and had massive increase both in terms of the number of VC funds, the capital under management, the number of fundings taking place. Angel investment is up over 100% over the last 5 years in our state. So a lot of great things are going on. So that environment is being created. And we're doing our role. Because again, government's role isn't to create the jobs. That's what you guys do. That's what free enterprise is all about. So we're trying to create a great environment for success. And that goes to things like tax reform. So one of the first things we did is we got rid of the dumbest tax in the United States, the single business tax. But the other things we've worked on is we're getting rid of the personal property tax for industrial property. Because again, that was a competitive disadvantage. On the regulatory front, we've gotten rid of over 1,500 regulations. That's net regulations we've gotten rid of in terms of making a better environment for success. And more important than just the numbers of regulations, we're treating you hopefully as a customer. In the old days, too often people were treated as being penalized as a way to raise revenue. We're here to give you good service. We want you to be successful. We want you to win. And we need to comply with the regulations. So how do we create that environment? And that's working. So there are so many great things, but I'm looking towards the future. There are so many exciting opportunities. And I really appreciate your support as we talked about immigration. That is something critically important. I'm proud to say we created the Office for New Americans here in Michigan. Because one of the things that made America a great country was immigration. And we need to embrace that and recognize diversity is a power in our country. And how can we do even more of that and create that? So the EB5 Center, I'm very proud we did get that in record time in terms of recognition to have a statewide center to bring in more entrepreneurs. But also I'm very proud, and I worked hard. Last week I was in DC actually talking about the Detroit proposal. We have a proposal to bring 50,000 immigrants with EB2 status, highly skilled immigrants to Detroit over a 5-year period if they'll agree to live and work in Detroit for 5 years. Just think what an economic boom that would be to our state. And what a great thing it would be to send a message about how impressive immigration and important it can be to bring back an economy. So there are so many great things we're working on in terms of those fronts. One other area I'd mention though is the issue of talent. As we come back, I think we need to be more proactive about making sure our young people have great opportunities. Either our kids, it's great to have some kids here, or people looking for that next career. So when I look to the future, one of the top priorities I have is the whole question of talent. And so what we need to do is work with the private sector and collaborate with the private sector more on understanding your need for talent. What's the demand for talent? What positions do you see coming open in addition to the ones you have open today? We need to work with the educational institutions on the supply of talent, on how to create that talent. And then our role as government is to connect those two worlds, connecting supply and demand. And I think we have a great opportunity because we have a skills gap right now in our country. We have too many openings for good, well-paying jobs that aren't being filled because we don't have people in the right place with the right credentials. And IT is a great illustration. I think we have a massive opportunity to get better training programs, better education to our young kids about what these career opportunities are and how they can match up with them. I call it there's a skilled trades issue out there where you think of welders, plumbers, electricians, but almost anyone now in a position is a skilled tradesperson in some fashion. Whether they be on the production floor, whether they be riding a tractor, or whether they're trying to write software code. There's a great opportunity to do so much more. So when I look to the future, I view that as a top priority. So I hope we can all work together to do that teamwork, to show that answer, because I think it's a competitive advantage for Michigan to focus in on opportunities like that. So what we're doing is creating that environment, as I said. Tax reform, regulatory reform, balancing our budget, paying off our long-term debts, and then looking towards future issues in terms of making sure we have a bright future in terms of jobs and careers. So I'm excited to be with you. I hope you're fired up. I appreciate the support from 4 years ago, but we have an opportunity to do it again.
Yes.
And to do something that's sustainable for the long term. Because the way I like to view it is over the last 4 years, I've had to take on a lot of tough issues and make a lot of tough decisions to deal with the last 30, 40 years of problems. Now we're getting those put behind us. Now we can look towards the future for the next 20, 30 years in terms of building that foundation for long-term success. So I'm proud of what we've done. Hopefully you can see, I said I was going to do a lot of things, we've done them. Let's keep up that path of getting more and more done and use what I call relentless positive action. No blame, no fighting. What's the problem? What's the solution? Solve the problem and be relentless in the pursuit of one solution after another. And to do it in a fashion that we're thinking about not just us, but our kids. Again, it's wonderful to have a couple wonderful girls here. I've got 3 kids. I just had a graduation this weekend. And it's an environment where you want to say, we want to create an opportunity for the next generation in our state. So thanks for your support by being here today. I do need you to be louder and prouder, though, of Michigan. I need to sign you all up to be an ambassador for Michigan, and I hope I can get you to do that. Who's willing to be an ambassador for Michigan? To go out and spread the word. Now, come on, we got a couple holdouts back there. Because we do need to spread the word. Too often we've been too humble about what goes on in our state, and we need to let people know we are a top-tier state already. Because too often, if you think about when you meet someone from out of state, what do they think of when they think of Michigan? They'll talk about the problems of Detroit, they'll talk about the 2009 Michigan. They're not talking about the 2014 Michigan. And so I need you to step up and spread that word. And I know a lot of the good Thai entrepreneurs here clearly can do that, but we need everybody else to get on board. So we need to convince everyone else that we need to be loud and proud Michiganders. So please spread the word in addition to continuing to support me for this election cycle. So it's a great opportunity. I'm fired up. Hopefully you see that. And let's just keep reinventing Michigan. So thank you. Thank you so much for this morning, and I'll be happy to take a few questions. Questions?
I have.
Sure.
As someone who is involved in making decisions that affect large numbers of people, and we all deal, as entrepreneurs, we deal with that in a smaller measure every day, making decisions that upsets one group and and helps another. How do you deal with that on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, no, thank you. The question he's asking from an entrepreneurial perspective about how do I make those decisions that affect so many people, and I'm making some group happy and I'm making some group mad. One of the things I've learned in this job is there's almost nothing I do that doesn't potentially get somebody mad at me.
Exactly.
And I really never thought of that. Even when I give someone an award, I'm probably getting someone else mad because they thought they should have gotten the award. So it's one of those cases. One of the things that really helped me coming into this position that I think hopefully resonates well with you is I think I'm bringing entrepreneurship to the public sector. And what do I mean by that? In terms of a lot of the big tough decisions I've had to make, a good entrepreneur stays focused on your vision and what you see as the problems. And a good entrepreneur does not get distracted by all the other stuff going on, tied up in fighting or anything else. Because think of how many times you might have had someone that wasn't successful as an entrepreneur. It's quite often because they sort of forgot what their mission was. And they got tied up in this issue or that issue too much, and they forgot the core of what their business needed to be. So one of the things that's really worked well for me is to say, hey, there's a lot of other stuff going on. I care about those things, but I have the most pressing things to take care of are the ones that are right in line with what I said needed to be done and what you hired me to do. So I just stay focused on doing my job, and then the other part is you hope over time, as you ask everyone to make some sacrifice for the better of all, it starts showing up. And if you look at our economy today, isn't it much better than what it was several years ago? And hopefully people appreciate, well, we all had to sacrifice a little bit to get to this point of seeing a bright future, and a bright future we can continue. Yes?
Concerned with immigration, one area in which government is quite keen and higher up, that those who come here for immigration, if they want to stay in this country and work, they should not be allowed to go back. In this area, government has been saying and doing quite a lot. But is there any possibility that we can expand the horizon so that those who have done masters in technology, PhD, they stay here if they want to stay for work? Unfortunately, with 20,000 quota, people are still going back to their country. Is there any better future for them or for this country to keep those talented people here?
Well, in terms of the master's and doctoral students, that's actually my illustration of how dumb our current immigration system is. That's my poster child for dumb. Because currently we have a system, if you think about our current system, where in fact we invite people to come get this world-class education, and we have wonderful institutions. They come here, and if you look at doctoral students in STEM, it's about 60% or so are foreign nationals. It's about 50% in engineering for master's degrees. And so we have an environment where we have them come, they actually love being here quite often, and then after they're done, we tell them to get out. That's really dumb. So my view of the system is you should never tell people they have to come or go, but create an environment where they want to stay here and create jobs and have a great life here, and again, grow. So the fact we created a system where we tell people after we give them a great education they have to leave is just crazy. And so that's something that I view that as one of the top issues that should be addressed and improved. It's great to see the wonderful results. I'll share one story with you. One of the VC companies I helped start that we worked on, the funny part is we were able to get some people to stay because we actually had real jobs in a company to immediately hire people. English was the third language. It was quite interesting to see that English wasn't even the second language, it was the third language in this company. And that shows you the power of what you can do by going global. Yes?
Governor, first of all, congratulations to you and to Director Hageman for the successful rollout of Healthy Michigan. I think Oregon and the federal government certainly could have learned from the Michigan experience. What one or two issues are you battling with to finalize the budget by the end?
Yeah, well, thanks for the kind words on Healthy Michigan. To give you some idea of scope, we launched April 1, and we've signed up probably about 160,000 people, which is about a half of what we thought for year one in the first month. And our systems worked so well that literally people could apply. Not everyone got approved, but we did a lot of approvals on the same day, and people were actually getting service on the same day they applied in terms of signing up for medical care. That's a cool system. So that's worked out really well, and I'm very proud of that. In terms of budget issues, yeah, we're in budget season, so hopefully we'll get that done by early June. Some of the things we're still trying to work through, though, are transportation. That's a question here. Anybody like our roads here? Now, the big question we're trying to figure out, now I ask you, I'll be interested in your approach, because no one likes our roads. But traditionally, people were hesitant to say they're willing to pay something extra to get better roads, because we've underinvested in our roads. So I'm just curious, take a poll now. Who here would be willing to pay something more for better roads in Michigan? Okay, well, I think that's a fairly significant majority. That's something I'd appreciate if you talk to your legislators about, because I've been calling for that for a couple of years, so I could use your help on that one. Just let them know that, guys, pothole season finally got bad enough this year that we should do something. Because in fact, most people don't know, on average, we pay over $100 more per vehicle than the surrounding states for car repairs related to road damage. So that could be an offsetting savings for anything that we'd have to invest. Yeah.
Governor, I work in the real estate business, working more gentrified models, doing infill, redevelopment. The problem we see going into this is that we see a core amount of the jobs located within this 15-minute area, which is great, the jobs you're talking about. The problem is, like the roads, we're sprawling further out. Then the secondary problem is that when they come back in and redevelop, put that investment back in, they're hit with a tax that's 3 times more than the home next door, and they're improving the values around there. Do you have any solutions for that?
What I'd share with you is, that's a tough one because that's basically proposal A. So that goes back a long time. There are some things that, again, in the second term, we need to look at how we do our education system in a broader sense, not just that piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of reforms that are still possible that are, again, forward-looking as opposed to just dealing with those cases. So, but keep on filling in those homes. Construction's coming back. Residential real estate's back quite a bit. It's great to see a lot more construction jobs. For those of you that don't know, there's probably no industry that got hit harder than construction. They got hit a lot harder than even the automotive industry in terms of drop. It was about an 80% drop in construction in our state. The other good part is if you're in the commercial industrial side, I was just in Germany and Italy, and we had a number of companies that are doing announcements now to come to Michigan. And one of their comments is they said we're running out of inventory of industrial buildings. So there's an opportunity for even growth there. So that's a good problem to have compared to what we had over the prior years. Well, one more? Okay.
Years
Yes,
ago,
sir.
we were putting them up at about $10 a watt. Today, with the very high usage across the United States, we're able to put panels down at the rate of about $2 a watt. So there's been an 80% decrease in just install costs. One of the areas for growth, and this is not something for my company, but for Michigan, is we need to get more into manufacturing of today's panels. We are finding that the cost difference between Chinese, Taiwanese, Korean, Indian panels and US-made panels is now in the order of, I would say, 15% plus or minus. The gap has come down from a 40% difference. Now it's just down to that 15%. We need to do what it takes to start growing and closing that competitive gap and bringing manufacturing back into Michigan. There's an opportunity for the state, and I just wanted to highlight that for you.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's good to hear the gap closing like that, and that's been my impression. Not just in renewables such as solar panels, but in most areas. So we're actually seeing things come back to Michigan that were being done in other states, in other countries, in other parts of the world. Because again, the quality of what we can make here is outstanding. And that's part of this talent question that I was talking about. So I want to make sure we have the most talented workforce to be able to go do these kind of specialty efforts and high value added manufacturing. So I think we've got an outstanding opportunity there that made in Michigan can be something really special. And the whole goal is, the way I view it is, the world's only going to become more and more global. And what you're going to find is people are going to specialize more in regions of the globe where they're going to be making their products. So for example, Asia will have Asian sites making theirs. America will be the place in many respects, and I want Michigan to be the leader here, and then you'll have places like Germany and such in Europe. So I think there's a great opportunity because people now are starting to value total cost of quality, not lowest labor cost. And when you look at that equation, and then renewables do have a future. Michigan's a little tougher as a solar state, wind does a little bit better, but you're going to see a pretty good transformation of the energy sources in Michigan, away from coal and more towards natural gas and renewables over the next decade or two. So it's exciting. A lot of good things to work on. So I'm fired up to be with you. I really want to thank this event. Rush, thank you, and Tel for bringing everyone together, and thank you for all coming. We have a great opportunity for the future. Now, you don't forget though, what do I need you to do? Be louder and prouder, right?
You got it.
So let's go out of here with some attitude to go share those good words about what's going on in our state. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
On behalf of Tel and me, thanks a lot for you guys to come here and support Governor. Governor, I wanted to ask a question. I couldn't ask because with this whole recovery, demand and supply has become an issue. Obviously in IT world, we face that every day, and a lot of good initiative. Hope that will solve that problem. But more importantly, we bought a new house recently. We are having hardest time finding construction worker to finish our home. So, but anyway, that's a great problem to have, and hope we have the great recovery for next 4 years with government. Thanks, Lord.
Thank you. That's great.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thanks. Nice to meet you.